Hi everyone, welcome back to Job One for All. In this video, we are going to see how we can send actually data so our methods can do something with it. Because if we go here into our domain calculator, if you notice, we are just hard coding the numbers here. But what happens if I would like to change or just let the caller decide what number they are going to send to us, and based on the function name, the method name, they know that, for example, this is going to subtract those numbers or they are going to sum these numbers. So let's create here another method, public void. So this method is public, is not going to return anything, but we will have an output. And now it's going to multiply two numbers. And I will add here the variables that we are expecting. So how do we do it? Basically the same way you have been doing with for loops. You just have to type the type of the variable. It could be anything, could be a primitive type, could be a reference type. We're going to see how that works later. And then the identifier. So we can say, for example, num1. So a few rules here. The same convention applies for this one. If you have multiple words, the first letter should be uppercase for each word subsequent to the first one. And the syntax is like this. Unfortunately, you cannot have the type later, or even with space, or a column like some other languages like Kotlin. So in this case, this is the syntax. First identifier, first the type and then the identifier, and then you can open curly braces. So what happens if we want more than one? Basically, you just have to add a comma and repeat the process. Now, be careful. Sometimes I have seen some mistakes like this. So you think that you are adding two integers, but actually this is a compilation error because the syntax is wrong. So comma, and then repeat the process again, variable type, and then identifier. And we can now use these variables. I have no idea what's coming into them. I don't know the numbers, but I know that they are integers. And since we're talking about integers, we can do actually, we could multiply these numbers. Okay, so now that we have these two numbers being multiplied, we have to call this method, and now we're going to send the data. So for that, let's create a new class here, calculator test 02, and PSVM. Same thing. First, import the class into your test, give it the reference variable a name, and create the object. And now we just call the reference variable dot and the method. And you can see that IntelliJ is telling us that now this method is going to is expecting two numbers and is not going to return anything. So if you press like here, you see that we have a compilation error. We need to send, because basically this multiply two numbers is saying, hey, I need two numbers to work with. Remember the analogy of apple? So if I say that I'm going to slice an apple, I'm probably asking you for an apple. You have to send me the apple, and here you have to send the numbers so this function can work properly. If you do not send, you have a compilation error. So when we are creating the method, you have to, when you type the parameter, the variables there, they're called parameter. But when you pass this data, it's called argument. So I'm saying here that I will send two arguments like 20 and 15, and these two arguments they are going to be used in this method. Let's execute Ctrl Shift F10, and we have the 300. Now be careful, because the same rules they apply here as if we were talking about variables outside the method. For example, I cannot send just a double, because if I try to do this, For example, this does not work, and basically this is what you are doing, but in a different way. So you cannot assign a double unless you do a cast. And if you do this cast right here, it will work, because you are saying before you send this double to multiply two numbers, cast it to integer. That's why this code works, but this is ugly and you should not do it. And you can have different types. You could have a float, for example, here, num2, and if we execute, we will get exactly the same result. Ctrl+Shift+F10. And if you want, you can have more than two parameters, but bear in mind that whatever you have here in this line 13 is like a contract. If you change the contract somehow, you are going to probably have to update whoever is using this contract. In this case, if I tell here that I have another variable, for example, a third variable that's an integer, I have to go back to my test2, because now I need to send another extra number. Even though I'm not using that number, because the contract says that I need three numbers to work with, two integers and one float, I need to send them. And another cool thing about IntelliJ, if you get lost, you can press Ctrl P as a pandemic, and you have like a help of what the parameters you are actually sending this data to. In this case, let's go back here. And let's go back here. So for example, I could send 15.5. This won't work. Why? Because this is a double, and I would need to send f to force this as a float number. Ctrl+Shift+F10. And now, as you can see, we have the decimal value here. So basically, this is how we can send arguments. IntelliJ is kind of buggy. We don't have any problems anymore. Maybe if I just build the project again, it will fix. Or maybe if I delete this one. Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes IntelliJ is buggy. Let me see if I execute again. Yeah, it has this problem here, but I don't see anything. We can just ignore. Okay, this is everything that I wanted to tell you. I hope you are enjoying. Let's continue in the next video. See you there. Bye.